All right, so chaotic traffic, jackets that get wet in the rain and pothole-filled roads. There's nothing more iconic than Mumbai monsoon, except maybe one thing, and that's the building that I was just looking at. On top of the building, you will see the Roman numerals for the year 1924. That's the year when this building was built. And what is in this building? Well, State Bank of India's main branch for the city of Mumbai, right next to Horniman Circle. And inside, we've got something interesting lined up for you. At the 70th anniversary of State Bank of India, what is it that you're seeing as something that is it a starting point? Is it a big milestone that you're proud of? How are you seeing this?
So thanks for having me here. I think this building is not only the Mumbai main branch now. Historically, the significance of this building for us is this is where 1955 State Bank of India corporate office was present.
Right.
Even prior to that, Imperial Bank of India was there. So from that angle, this building symbolizes not only age and architecture, it is also testimony to the trust, consistency in our service orientation, and being the very significant part of India's economic development. I think that is what it symbolizes. Coming to your question, of course, 70 years is the foundation of State Bank of India in the new avatar from 1955 onwards. But of course, this bank has a history of almost more than 200 years.
Yeah, 219, yeah.
219, yes. And this historical, background and the purpose for which State Bank of India was formed in 1955 has driven the way the bank has been contributing to the society at large and also for the economic activity of the country. I think from there you need to see the 70 years journey from that spectrum, that what is that SBI has played in the systemic role, what it has played in the economic development.
Okay, why don't we take a walk around the branch and try and figure out the history as well as, of course, the present and the future. Sure. So I want to ask you, this 100-year-old building, how are you feeling when you soak in all of these historical sort of, nobody here was alive when this building was born. Yes. How are you soaking it all?
I think this building, both as a corporate office of Imperial Bank of India and subsequently State Bank of India, and currently in the form of a very large branch of SBI, is a part of shaping the aspirations of people. Right. I think it's not only the number of retail customers who walk in here. Yeah. And over the years, the corporate banking aspirations and entrepreneurial aspirations of the people have been fulfilled over the years. And also, this office has shaped the way State Bank of India thought about its role in the rural development, in supporting the MSMEs, in the industrial financing activity, both new age as well as conventional industries. Yeah. From that angle, I think it has played a very, very large and important role.
So, 70 years in this avatar of State Bank of India after the SBI Act was born, right? To your mind, when you're looking at this history, what is it that stands out as, this is why State Bank of India was born, and this is why State Bank of India as a lender exists? How are you seeing those things?
I think first and foremost, you can't think about SBI without thinking about the great financial inclusion. Yeah. The role what SBI has played in that. First, to start with, the very purpose of this organization to extend rural credit. I think it has done a phenomenal job in terms of ensuring that the initial phase of its development in terms of agricultural financing, microfinancing, small-scale industries financing, cottage industries, and take the banking to extremely unbanked areas. We were the first bank to take branches to many villages, many rural areas which have not even heard of banking in those days. So that's I think the very, very important role which you have to acknowledge whenever you talk about SBI, that people have been brought into the banking system. The second important area is that, that alone would not have helped. That how do you design your credit policies, procedures, and products so that, the people who are entering the formal credit system will be able to avail those benefits. And I'll just give you an example.
Why don't we come here and sit down and talk?
During 70s, when the government of India wanted that there should be a large-scale participation of SBI in MSMEs, we have not only taken up just merely extending the credit, we launched an entrepreneurial development program. We trained the people to, how do we set up a small company and take the economic activity. And another important project I would like to mention, what is called Project Uptake.
Okay.
How you ensure that the MSMEs on a cluster basis invest in technology. And there are other important milestones in SBI's journey, in my view, is that, see, the economic crisis from time to time.
Yes.
When the foreign exchange crisis was there.
Of course.
SBI has played a very important role in terms of India development bonds, Research in India bonds. And the other one which we must acknowledge is the digital adoption. How do you take this, if you say the later part of the 70 years journey, in the last one decade, SBI has played a very, very large role, either setting up new institutions or setting up our own technology platforms across the banking services. Is also need to be acknowledged that today we democratized the digitalization in the country. The last piece I would like to mention is in terms of our extending the financial services beyond banking. Today we have more than around 18 subsidiaries, non-banking subsidiaries, which provide different financial services. So the evolution of SBI from a mere banking entity to a financial conglomerate is an amazing journey in my view.
You joined the bank in 1988 as a probationary officer at that point in time. Yeah. Now, of these 70 years, you've stayed with the bank for more than half. I wanted to get a few hits of your career, because obviously during your time at the bank is when the 1991 crisis happened, the 2008 crisis happened, later when the banking sector NPA crisis happened in India. After that, multiple geopolitical crises that you witnessed, especially after becoming chairman. I wanted to get your sense of what your trajectory has been like.
So there's never a dull moment in SBI.
Of course.
See, I think whichever assignment you are there, you always have some excitement. But I don't like to call them hits, but a few very challenging environments, assignments which have helped me to understand and excel in those areas and also contribute in a significant manner was one. Definitely I would like to mention about the Deputy Managing Director stressed asset resolution.
Yes.
That was the most difficult phase where post asset quality review we had undertaken large scale identification, resolution. I think this process, it is not only that we have provided the leadership to the industry. This turbulent environment, we also, in my view, provided a calming effect. We have given assurance to the industry that how do we handle this large account resolution. So that is, in my view, I believe that is one of the major moments for me in the career. But the other one is in terms of Managing Director, retail operations. When I took over as MD Retail, we just entered the COVID. And during COVID, it was a great humbling experience to see how our staff members react and respond to this crisis.
Yeah, of course.
And when banking was declared as essential service, we, from a management perspective, we said that safety of our employees, safety of our customers, and if we can do some business, let us do business. But I'm very proud of my teams that, we have done phenomenal job in terms of providing the services. It also helped me to understand the resilience and strength of this organization in a much larger scale.
Yeah.
We have almost, you are familiar, more than 22,000 branches, more than 65,000 ATMs. The network had to operate. And we also had rural presence by way of business correspondents, so more than 70,000 of them.
Yeah.
So every one of those entities have worked to the satisfaction of the customers. And I believe that, through that assignment, I could realize the power and potential of this wonderful organization.
Okay, I've heard a lot about this conference room in this building on the second floor, which was home to the Mumbai local board as well, when it was the Imperial Bank at that point in time. It would be great to have a chat with you there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. We are now entering this conference room, which used to house some of the oldest board meetings in the history of State Bank of India in Bombay. What I wanted to understand from you is, now we are in this year of 2025. There is no real competition for State Bank of India in the current setup in India, in the Indian banking sector. But having said that, there is a expectation that it will only keep growing bigger and bigger. How do you, as a chairman of the bank, how are you balancing this, staying first but also focusing on being like a growing bank?
The competition is always there. I think the advantage for SBI, or the nature of SBI, is that always face the competition head on. So when you are number one, there is a greater responsibility, greater expectations. And also, see, we need to constantly redefine ourselves, to redefine the leadership itself. There are a lot of disruption. So when we look at leadership, we don't look at only at the size. Obviously, we have had the advantage of size, and we are maintaining that. It requires a lot of effort. It's not an easy task to maintain the leadership. But what we would like to position this bank as not merely the largest bank in the country, but the best bank in the country. So what does it mean? It means that you're best in customer service, best in digital adoption. You are best in ensuring that your product profile and your processes are constantly reimagined and redefined. And more importantly, the customer protection.
Yeah.
And take the leadership position in many of the areas of the banking, financial services. My reading is that, as I mentioned earlier also, that any banking entity, unless it is able to provide a wide array of financial services, will find it difficult. So from that angle, it is not only our scale and size which positions us, and hopefully will continue to be number one, is also the gamut of financial services across the system we're able to provide. And as a single financial superstore, when a customer walks in, that he gets all the services to from SBI, which are most suitable for him. I think this is how we want to position the bank.
Financial superstore is a great moniker, I think. But I wanted to now talk about the current sort of scenario that the bank finds itself in. Not just the bank, but also the broader sector, which is that now you've seen large rate cuts come in from the central bank. Therefore, obviously, all of that is passing on to the depositors as well. Not just on fixed deposits, also on savings account deposits. Do you feel at any level that maybe these lower interest rates are the problem that you were facing 2 years ago, which is driving your depositors away from banks? They may not want to put their money in the banks. Borrowing is fine, but I don't want to put my money in a fixed deposit anymore. I'll put it in the stock market, I'll put it in some other financial instrument. Do you feel that that's a problem at all?
So in a maturing economy, I think the financialization of the savings in a large way is happening. Earlier, the financialization of savings just meant that you keep a bank deposit, right? Today, the options of saving and options of investments have definitely got widened. This is inevitable, as the economy matures and as I mentioned again, the insurance industry, the pension industry, and the mutual fund industry are growing significantly. But I believe that broadly the customers will look at asset allocation. And we would like to promote asset allocation. In fact, what we would like to educate our customers on two things, since you mentioned, I'm probably front running your question.
Sure.
One is, how do you responsibly invest? That means, you need to have an asset allocation so that, you don't get stuck in an equity market or elsewhere. Number two is the responsible borrowing. This is also another challenge what we see in the ecosystem.
Of course.
As a large lender, we would like to ensure that people borrow responsibly so that their credit profile is not impacted. So what I mean to say is that this kind of movement is inevitable. But if they really talk about or think about bank products, we would be on the top of their list. This is our effort. For example, today, we open 65,000 savings bank account, which means that irrespective of whatever is happening on the interest rate side, we offer one of the best savings bank product in the country. Okay. I'll tell you, we are the only bank probably in the country which does not charge any minimum balance charges. We said that why we don't publish it as a USP, but we believe that this is a customer-oriented initiative, and this also helps a first-time savings bank account. I'm not even talking about the financial inclusion account. Anyway,
right.
By nature, they are zero balance.
Right.
But even in the non-financial inclusion account, somebody wants to open an account. And even if we don't ask for minimum balance, 95% of these accounts get funded. But as a customer service-oriented measure, we do not charge the minimum balance, and a host of other benefits which we give.
Yeah.
And our network, accessibility of a network and largest branch and ATM network, wonderful digital channels. I think that is what is our USP in terms of getting continue to be a market leader in deposits.
So obviously the analyst community is slightly more short-sighted when it comes to numbers, but the question of the margin is always something that is bothering a lot of people, especially in the rate cut cycle that we're in. And we're closing to the fag end is what we all understand that. But is that at all a worry for State Bank or for the Chairman of the State Bank of India?
So the net interest margin trajectory is, in my view, would be a U-shaped curve, in the sense that in a couple of quarters we see the margins getting compressed.
Yeah.
Obviously, the front loading of repo rate has accelerated the repricing of some of the retail portfolio. For us, the benefit is that we don't have much of that repo-linked portfolio. Yeah. Our portfolio is broadly either fixed or MCLR. But we want to give the benefit of MCLR reduction also to our customers. Correct. Right? So which means that you need to calibrate your deposit rates. This is precisely what we have done. So going forward, I believe there are two things. One is the margins get adjusted, and number two, the September onwards, again an unexpected pleasant surprise from the regulator is to cut the CRR by 1%.
Yes.
So that will add, one is it will immediately reduce the cost of maintaining that reserve. And number two, ability to deploy those funds. So September onwards, I think there will be a addition to the margins. So we need to look at the exit margins of Q4.
Correct.
I think broadly most of us would be better positioned.
Coming to the pleasant surprises by the regulator, the project finance guidelines were, I'm sure, a pleasant surprise. I'm sure there was a lot of anxiety amongst the lender community, which the RBI governor even admitted as the cost of regulation. Right? Now that worry has gone away, do you think that you've gotten everything that maybe a bank needed to ensure that you fund that next leg of private sector capex? And then, is that private sector capex finally coming?
I think one major advantage is that the overhang of these draft guidelines is taken out now. That is definitely a positive, number one. Number two, From the draft guidelines, I think there have been a lot of improvement. And thanks to RBI, I must compliment that RBI has been constant engagement with all the stakeholders, whether it is banks or even project developers. They have spoken to a cross-section of people and got the feedback from them. So obviously, the final guidelines are, in my view, more conducive for project financing. So I'm not even talking about just about provision alone. I think it has given a lot of flexibility, and more importantly, monitoring protocols and recovery pathways, and everything is well defined now, starting from what is project finance itself. So this is a very good development. So we have never shied away from the project financing. So obviously, we continue to be the dominant player in the project financing. We have very strong pipeline. While this pipeline is strong, it is not diversified in the sense that it is predominantly coming from power sector, renewables, roads and all. But we would like to see more private capital expenditure in core sector like steel, cement. I believe that I think it will take some time.
Okay. Yeah. It's not going to be immediate.
Immediate.
I want to also touch upon, and these are my last two questions. First one around green financing, and that's something that's become, was a buzzword about a year ago, but now it's become significantly more important. You're going out for a QIP soon, where you will invite investors to come in. But when global investors are looking at institutions, especially in developing nations like India, they are looking at the green aspect a lot. You have spoken in the past a lot about renewables as a push area for SBI. It's something that you want to keep funding. But outside of that, what else do you see as a potential green push?
See, our efforts for greening our green finance is twofold. One is, in simple terms, is internal to us. In technical terms, what we call scope 1 and scope 2 emissions. Okay. So State Bank of India has taken a lot of effort to ensure that we become net zero by 2030 internally. And this is what our conscious effort is.
Sure.
From a scope 3 on, which means that your financing units also have to become green. That is maybe we would like to achieve 100th year of State Bank of India. That is 2055.
Okay.
We would like to be net zero by in all respects. Scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. But this also depends on how the country is moving. We need to be in alignment with the country's aspirations, commitments. I think if I remember, I think country wants to be net zero by 2075, right?
Yes.
So which means that we probably would be advancing our portfolio. There are a lot of effort is going on, not only in terms of merely renewable energy financing. We are trying to engage with hard to abate industries, for example, steel, cement. How do we engage with them to move towards greening that activity too?
Okay. So apart from just being a lender, you're also advising them on things.
Advising them and also engaging with them. And trying to see, like for example, we are planning to set up a center of excellence within the project finance department to understand emerging technologies in whether it is hydrogen, whether it is green hydrogen, or whether it is battery storage. Many of those activities, while technology is developing, along with the technology, the financing activity, our ability to finance them also need to be developed. So we are setting up a center of excellence within SBI so that we not only help our own people to understand these technologies and fund them, we will also help the industry to raise the financing.
Well, last question is this. Now, you are the banker to every Indian. That's the tagline that you go with. Every third Indian is an SBI customer in one way or the other. Is there a future where SBI becomes or enters that top 10 global list of banks? Because I think that's one of the goals that the country also has, that our financial institutions should be the size of global institutions. You are already within India, whatever the classification that RBI gives, the big bank, which needs to be monitored closely. What is that going to look like when you enter these top institution lists?
So by assets, we are already top 50, among the top 50, and recently the bank also has entered 100 top corporates by profits, the group level profits. So the top 10 banks by assets probably will take some time, but what we are trying to do is that whether we can become top 10 global banks in terms of market capitalization.
Yes.
Which is, see, market capitalization is just not merely a number. It shows that your efficiency, your stakeholder value creation.
Confidence.
So that is obviously something what we are trying to, we are around 23, 24 now. We have a potential to reach that top 10. But my view is that India itself offers a great opportunity. If we are trying to become economically developed country by 2047, and SBI has about 20% of the GDP. So which means, as the country's economy grows, we have the potential to grow internally. Not necessarily that, I need to grow my global balance sheet, which is currently about 10%, probably it will become 12, 13%. But the potential to grow domestically within India is immense, and we would like to capitalize on that.
Okay. And that includes, of course, at some level, the push from your subsidiaries and your associate businesses as well.
Absolutely.
All right, Mr. Setty, thank you so much for joining us on this conversation, sir. Pleasure as always.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir.